tip of my nose, bubbling over with Aloha Beer. The taste will make you fall in love, oh baby, ooh. The taste's got me falling in love, oh baby, ooh. The taste will make you fall in love, oh baby, ooh.
Beer goes back to Sumerian times. It goes back 4,000 or 5,000 years. And you know, beer is a fermented beverage, and in the early days, it would happen by accident. They surmised that maybe somebody left a bowl of grain out and it rained. And yeast, we have wild yeast all around us, yeast got into that and fermented it. And then they drank it or ate it, and they, you know, felt different, felt funny, felt good, saw visions, what have you. And then from there on out, they tried doing it on purpose. What's emerged in more modern history, you know, but this is still going back 500 years or so, are brewing regions. And you had 3 traditional brewing regions. You had Germany, England, and Belgium. And out of those 3 regions grew some very different beer styles that survive as styles today. The American craft brewing tradition, you know, originally started more emulating British styles of beers. Ultimately, they got into some German styles, but now all the rage is Belgian styles of beer. Hawaii is a year-round beer drinking climate. Ultimately, Honolulu had 2 big breweries, and that was Honolulu Brewing and Malting and Royal Brewing. The history of Aloha Beer, it goes back 15 years doing it. And the early days, we started the brewery in conjunction with Sam Choi, the chef. Over the years, we've evolved into sort of our own big Aloha brewery. And from there, it actually has become the Aloha Beer Company. It's easy to make beer. It's a lot harder to make a good beer. We control the whole process. And what we do is we start out with malted barley, which is a starch that's readily converted to sugar. And what we do is we make what's called a mash, same thing they do in making, you know, whiskey. We crush the barley, and we make a hot porridge out of it, and we hold that hot porridge at temps between 140 and 160 degrees, and what happens is enzymes come out and they break the starch down to sugar. Once that conversion is made, we want to extract the sugar from the mass, from the solids. And that's a process known as lautering, separating. It's basically separating sugar from all the other material. I use a coffee maker analogy. Say you have your mash, that hot porridge, that would be your coffee grounds. It's inside of what we call a mash tun. It sits on a perforated stainless steel floor. That would be the coffee filter. And then we add what we call sparge, hot water over the top. That's what happens in a coffee maker. And what runs out the bottom, in the case of coffee, it's the coffee. In the case of making beer, it's wort, German word, wert. It's the sugar-rich solution we've separated from the malted barley, which we've converted. Now we boil it, and we bring it to a boil and hold it at a boil for an hour and a half. And during that hour and a half, we add hops to it. And hop is the flowering cone of the hop vine, and it contains oils. They give you bitterness, flavor, and aromatics to a beer. And we'll choose certain hops for each of those categories and add them at different times in the boil to achieve the right bitterness, the right flavor, the right aroma. We'll boil it for an hour and a half, and at the end of that hour and a half boil, we will cool that wort down and pump it to a fermenter. And in the fermenter, we'll add yeast, and we'll set a temperature, and then the yeast does the work. The yeast will then begin eating the sugar and converting it to alcohol and carbon dioxide. Once it's power maturing, what we'll end up doing is, in the case of filtered beer, and about, you know, of the 8, 6 of ours will be filtered. We will pump that beer through a filter into a holding tank, and then we'll add carbonation. And once carbonation is complete, we've got finished beer. So, but the whole principle, it's a fairly simple concept, and as I said, that then becomes increasingly more difficult as we do it. We're really focusing entirely on the beer. Shortly, we'll include 8 different styles. We're currently producing 5. We have Aloha Lager, which is a classic European continental Pilsner. And it's what I often say is it's a green bottle beer. And here in Hawaii, most people won't even call a beer out by name, they'll just say green bottle. We're doing a dark version of the Aloha Lager that we're calling Aloha Dark. And just a really nice dark lager, but it's a light dark beer. It's a dark beer suited for Hawaii's warm climate. And a lot of people see dark in a beer and they think it's going to be extremely heavy or hard to put down. Ours is a beer you could reach for to slake your thirst, also enjoy, but it's got more flavor in it. We have Aloha Red, which is a red ale or an amber ale, and a lot of the early craft brewed beers that were embraced by the beer drinking public were amber ales. They've got some goodies in them, they've got some good hop flavor, aroma, some maltiness, but they're still very approachable. We're doing our James Cook India Pale Ale, and it's a traditional India Pale Ale, which is a bigger, hoppier, more alcohol, more malt. We're brewing Steamship Lager, which is a steam beer. It's a hybrid. It's sort of a cross between an ale and a lager. Just nice, interesting beer, a lot of different flavors in it. We also will continue to brew our blonde ale. Hawaii is one of the biggest per capita beer drinking states. I think we are. We go through a lot of beer here because it's perfect beer drinking weather, and a lot of people will reach for the lighter beers. Our blonde ale is, and it's just a real light, crisp, refreshing ale. It's got some good flavors, but it's approachable, and you can have a few. When you get a product that's got a little more depth of flavor, you're looking at pairing it with things. If we have a spicy dish, I'm looking for something that's got a little more hop, or I might use a very hoppy beer to cut through a real rich dish. If we have something like poke or sashimi or something, I want something crisp, refreshing to complement, I might reach for our Aloha Lager or our blonde. They'll try the beer, they'll try the food, and then you see them going back and forth, and it's like, oh wow, yeah, it really, one complements the other, and it works nicely. We have a lot of different regulars at our place. It's cool to see somebody enjoying what we make. It's neat to see people react to it. We still love what we do. We could cut corners at times, but we don't, because we really believe in what we're making and believe in the consistency. And it's just always going to be a good, fresh, clean product. Local product, local families, to me it sort of resonates. It's a cool thing.
Makes me feel like falling in love. The taste of her kiss is so sweet on my lips. It's just a tender warmth of her. From my head to my toes, to the tip of my nose.